Okay, the next area, the next major issue here is miracles. Miracles as signs, they tell us. And they tell us that the question that has dominated discussion about miracles in apologetics for the past century or longer is this: are miracles serviceable as elements of apologetics? Can they assist us in apologetics? Or are they difficulties for which an apologetic is needed? Can we do, is it something that we have to explain as part of our apologetics, right? And they suggest that the answer is both, right? That they can serve us, and they're also, there are difficulties which apologetics is needed. And so, for those who believe in God, or at least are open to belief in God, a well-attested miracle can be the basis of a persuasive argument that God has acted and revealed Himself in a special way. And to those who do not believe in God and are resistant to the idea of a miracle working God, miracle stories are a major type of stumbling block to the faith, right? So they're suggesting both of these kind of questions need answers, and they believe that the various positions can help us to work through both of these positions.
All right, well, when it comes to the classical apologists, they typically focus on showing that miracles in general are possible. So given that a creator God exists, such a God could do miracles. They would not contradict or violate the natural law. Again, we talk about this as it's almost a caricature of what miracles are, if you want to kind of argue that it's a violation of the natural law. Well, no, it's not. It's the same way as if you were to drop a pencil and then stop it from hitting the table. You're not violating the natural law. You're just violating what would happen if your hand wasn't there. So instead of your hand, just replace it with God's hand. In the transcendental view of what a hand is, there's no violation that's occurring here. There's no all of a sudden I looked at the moon and not only was it a circle, it was a square circle. Well, all right, that's maybe more of a violation of the natural law, but it's not something that we're going to see. And as far as what Scripture tells us, it's clear of why we wouldn't see that. All right, so that's what the classicalists would do. So miracles are just fine, and they wouldn't contradict or violate natural law. The evidentialists typically focus on showing that specific miracles, in light of the evidences, are probable. What are the chances that the resurrection occurred, and we see the sleeping guards, and that they had to lie, and that the apostles went to their death, even though they made zero money from everything, and didn't seem to hold any legitimate power with either their countrymen or the Roman world at hand. Does that add to the probability that the miracle could occur? What about Paul? His drastic change of going from murdering Christians to being a Christian. That doesn't seem that seems more. If you wrote that down in a movie and played it out, you'd say, "Oh, this is for Hallmark." No one. This wouldn't really happen like this. Or how about the denial of James and the other brothers of Jesus? And then leading the church in Jerusalem, would we see that? So all these things kind of pile up and say, is it then more probable than not that the miracle of the resurrection occur? Or, take whatever miracle you're talking about, the fall of the walls of Jericho. Once you actually look at, and not just what someone said about there's no pottery from the Babylonian era in this one area that I'm looking at. Yeah, but also looks like the walls did fall down, and some of them have scorch marks. In fact, that might be what we see in the biblical account. Well, you got to do maybe a little bit more of your due diligence, but we're talking about here, the evidentialist is heaping on evidence to upend the scope of probability here.
Right.
So exactly. They contend, the evidentialists, that well-documented miracles can count as evidence for a theistic worldview. So miracles for evidentialists, 2 thumbs up.
All right. And so notice here, they say that to establish that miracles are possible, one must first establish that God exists. That's kind of the classical thing, right? However, to show that a specific miracle most likely occurred, one needs to establish that God exists. You don't necessarily need to establish that, but only that God's existence is as likely as not. Also, while the classical apologist rightly argues that if God exists, we might expect him to do miracles. The fetus is right to argue that if God does miracles, then they will likely not be what we expected. And so they tell us it's apparent then that all the four approaches differ on the relation of miracles to apologetics, at least in part because they focus on different questions about miracles. And so we see this same kind of idea that we've been looking at during this whole chapter, that they come from it from different perspectives. They answer different questions. And so they give us a more full orbed, as we look at all perspectives, a full orb answer to a particular issue.